Hi friend, I'm Ray, a nutritionist. Welcome to the Raepublic Kitchen. There are a lot of kitchen tools out there and I don't use a lot of them. I have some tried and true kitchen tools that I stick with and use every single week, if not every day, let's be honest. They make cooking faster and so much easier. These are my 5 kitchen tools that are non-negotiable. Let's get into it. The first kitchen tool that I use almost every single day is my Vitamix blender. Sometimes it's like 5 times a week, but almost every day. If you cook plant-based or simply make a lot of smoothies or dips or dressings or soups or even pancakes, all of those can be made in this handy blender. This is a Vitamix blender specifically from the Ascent series, and it can really save a lot of time in the cooking process. It blends ingredients really fast and really smooth. So a frozen fruit smoothie that maybe took a couple minutes in a regular blender literally takes like 20 to 30 seconds. It's also powerful enough to make dips in it that are thick and creamy like hummus. I actually often find myself making hummus in the blender versus a food processor, which might be more normal. However, I will say when we moved into this house, I decided to upgrade our Vitamix, and this Vitamix is in the Ascent series, and I really wanted to take the opportunity to do that because this one has different attachments and accessories. So there's the blender, pitcher, there's different size cups that have a different blending base. So if you want to do just like a small salad dressing or a single serve smoothie, those are great. It also has a food processor attachment and things like that that I use. And I was really excited about it. However, I will say the only thing that I have found that I can't make in the blender pitcher are things like date balls that are super, super thick and sticky. You can make nut butters in this, hummus, all sorts of thick like food, but the date balls just don't work. So I use a food processor for that. But this literally works for everything else. I really do prefer my old Vitamix, which is like one of the cheapest ones they have. I think it's the Explorian series. It's much cheaper. It's just a base and the blender, and honestly, it's more consistent and less finicky. So if you don't have a Vitamix and you want to upgrade, you don't need to go to the most expensive option. You can start with Explorian, which is honestly my favorite. Okay, next we have the handy dandy trusty Instant Pot. Now, I honestly stayed away from Instant Pot for a long time because I could not wrap my head around what I would possibly use it for. However, as someone that eats plant-based, this thing is amazing. It cooks beans really, really fast, and it cooks rice really, really fast. And in this house, honestly, that's mostly what we use it for, is to essentially ingredient prep. So I've never really been a big meal prepper, but I do love to ingredient prep. So I'll make a big pot of chickpeas, a big pot of black beans or some other bean like Great Northern beans, and they cook super fast. Depending upon the beans, chickpeas take a little bit longer than like white beans do, but it makes the cooking process so much faster. And then I put those in nice glass storage containers in the fridge, or sometimes I'll even freeze some of the cooked beans, because then I can go ahead and pull some of those out to toss in soups without having to use canned beans. So we're a huge fan. We also use it multiple times a week to make rice and things like that. So my next go-to kitchen tool that I actually use every single day, multiple times a day, is my chef's knife. The brand is Doll Strong, and actually we just did some knife research online and this looked like a really, really great one. It's 8 inches and it actually has a really good amount of weight to it. I've used chef's knives in the past that feel very light, and it just doesn't feel as good when you're chopping things up. So I highly recommend it. We also bought, I think, 4 other knives of the same brand, Doll Strong, and I use this 99.9% of the time. We probably could have lived without the other ones. There is one that's a small knife that we use to open packages. If you don't have a chef's knife or are in the market for one, I really recommend this one, and I will link it below. So this is definitely an underrated essential that we use multiple times a day. We actually found these solid wood cutting boards from a local woodworker. I would wager, we have several different ones. I would wager that if you go onto Facebook Marketplace and search for terms like maple slab or live edge wood, things like that, that you can find a local woodworker in your area that could either make you something like this or already makes them. They were super affordable, and it's just one solid piece of wood, so there's no glues, there's no finishes that are bad for you, anything like that. So these are really our favorite cutting boards. We definitely want to stay away from plastic, get microplastics into your food. Ugh, not good. So I highly recommend a solid wood cutting board, and I would bet you could find one locally. So I was debating what to pick for my 5th and final essential kitchen tools that I use every single week, because there are more that I use every single week, if not every single day. But this cast iron skillet is the best. It's an antique Griswold 9-inch cast iron skillet. I have a Lodge brand cast iron skillet that was super cheap. I have a Staub cast iron skillet and a Le Creuset, however you say it, cast iron skillet. And this one is by far my favorite. And in second place would be the Lodge one. So you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can buy a Lodge cast iron skillet, or look at local thrift shops, antique shops, online marketplaces for one that's antique. And I have no doubt that you will get a ton of use out of it. One of my favorite things about cast iron is that it heats very evenly. So it cooks very evenly as well. The only thing I do when I'm cooking in cast iron, which is all I do actually, because everything we have is cast iron, is that I put a little oil in the pan and then I turn the heat on so that the pan fully heats evenly, and then I add the food that I'm cooking to it. These are my 5 kitchen tool essentials that I use every single week, if not every day, if not multiple times a day. They help me cook consistently, reliably, and save me time and energy. Build your basics, keep it simple, buy secondhand, save money. If you are looking to buy new items, I will have my favorites linked in the caption below. If you're serious about cooking without overwhelm, make sure to subscribe. We're taking this step by step, and I'll see you in the next video.